is the theme to the show. The show is all about you. Not Jeff, but you and your stories. Because everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. Brought to you by JeffSeltzer.com.
Hello and welcome to Everybody Has a Story with Jeff Seltzer. I'm your host, Jeff Seltzer, and this is episode 64. I've been off for almost 2 months at this point. I had initially decided to take off the month of January. Personal life and professional life both got super busy over the last few weeks, so punted it off a little bit more. Figured it was probably time to check in. I did get a message a few weeks ago from a buddy of mine who said, hey, Jeff, wasn't it great back when you had a podcast? So I think that was kind of a nice little sign that it was probably time to start recording again. So I think going forward, I do, occasionally take months off here and there. I don't know that recording weekly as I once did is really sustainable. So this will probably be, I would say, at the worst or at the least, a once a month podcast going forward. But I will put in as many episodes as I can based on how my life, I guess, works its way. So more content to come. I would say, as always, if you ever want to know what's going on with the podcast, definitely go over to Instagram and follow at Everybody Has a Story Pod. I'll be posting updates there when we're going to post new episodes, or things change, whatever else like that. Additionally, you can watch the show or check out some content over on YouTube at Everybody Has a Story Pod. For all things Jeff Seltzer and all things the podcast, you could always check out JeffSeltzer.com. At the top of JeffSeltzer.com has all of the contact information, all of the links, all the podcast locations. You can email the show at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com. All podcast platforms that we're on, as always, video is on Spotify and YouTube. Audio is everywhere: Apple, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, all those places. But again, if you go to JeffSeltzer.com, you'll be able to see a link to all the different places. So that is that. With that said, it's been a very busy 2 months for me, as I had said. Lots of things going on, both personally and professionally. Before getting into some of those things, I did want to call out the fact that I'm recording this on Sunday, February 22nd. This will drop on Monday, February 23rd. Team USA just won the gold medal in hockey, which was pretty exciting. As a Devils fan, it was really cool to see Jack Hughes score the overtime winner, so that way Team USA could win the gold medal for the first time since 1980. What's funny is they had said it's the first time in 46 years, and I was like, that doesn't feel right. Then I was like, wait, I was born in 1977, and I'm 48, so I guess that makes sense. Math is a weird thing, and timelines are really tricky. As you get older, things are weird, right? Like when people say, hey, 20 years ago this happened, I tend to forget that 20 years ago was 2006 and not 1980, as I think that I'm forever stuck in the mindset that we're in the year 2000. So something happened in the timeline, I'm sure, at some point, but whatever it is, just got to keep reminding myself that I'm getting older. The timeline keeps expanding, and that 46 years ago was 1980. So that's where we are today. One thing I did want to call out also was in the last few weeks while I was on hiatus, I had my first listener or viewer from South Africa. Really exciting news. I mean, obviously, I love to stream to new countries and new locations and get new listeners. But for me, it was especially exciting because Africa, the continent, was one of the last two continents I still needed, or I did need, to hit every continent in this world. So at this point, I have at least one stream or one listen from every continent except for Antarctica. So if you or someone you know is in Antarctica, if you could go and listen to at least 1 minute and 1 second of this podcast, not necessarily this episode, but any episode, that would be super helpful. So then I can kind of, claim world domination that I've been listening to in every single continent, which is a pretty cool data point. I mean, I don't know that anybody really cares, but for me, in terms of, the breadth of who's listening and who's consuming this content, I think it's really cool to be able to say that, every continent has listened to this podcast. So if you know anybody, let me know. Otherwise, I might have to at some point go take a trip to Antarctica, listen to the podcast so I can check that box. I'm not even sure if Antarctica has the technology to listen to Wi-Fi or data. I assume they do, but I don't know. I've never been there before, so I guess we'll see how that rolls out. Another piece that was really interesting to me, I'd say, and I posted about this a few weeks ago. So as you guys know, the last episode before this one posted on January 1st. It was my special New Year's episode with Senior Executive Vice President of Music for this podcast, Marcus Percal Brandon. It was a great episode, a lot of fun. It was Happy New Year. It was the longest episode of all time. So if you're listening or looking for some more content that you haven't caught up on so far, that's definitely the way to go. What I was going to say was that was the last episode I posted. So it was probably about 7 weeks ago. So generally, after about a month or so of not putting up new content, the amount of streams and listens kind of goes down because there's no new content. The people who listen and watch, they've already listened and watched. And usually, in terms of overall data and people listening, it kind of like, it plateaus. Weirdly, on February 10th, all of a sudden I saw a huge spike in terms of consumption of the podcast or listening to the podcast. Now, the data that I get via Spotify and the different data providers doesn't tell me like to the users, the personal level. Like I don't necessarily know that somebody listened or who specifically it was, or if it was a lot of people. But on February 10th, all of a sudden I had 57 listens to the podcast on that day. Now it's either listens or downloads, which is very weird because generally, again, after, at that point it was like 5 or 6 weeks of new episodes. I would only get a few a day, maybe a dozen tops, whatever, 2 dozen tops. So the fact that it all of a sudden spiked leads me to believe that either maybe somebody I knew years ago found the podcast, decided to listen to it and check it out. I don't know, or maybe somebody's downloading all the episodes to create their own soundboard so they can make me sound like I'm saying something that I'm not saying. So who knows? But in any event, if you did find this podcast and if you were that person or one of those people who back in February 10th downloaded or listened to 57 episodes, which was a lot. That's definitely a lot of content. Hit me up on Instagram. Send me a direct message at Everybody Has a Story Pod. I'd be very curious to, I guess, A, to understand how you found the podcast. B, was it good? Did you like it? What do you think of it? And C, 57 episodes is a lot. Obviously, this show has evolved a lot over the last almost 2 years at this point. So want to get more of a sense of, obviously you've heard my journey. Like, what is your journey? Like, did you all of a sudden decide one day, hey, I'm going to download all the episodes, or kind of like what's going on here? So super curious. Let me know if that's you. That's great. Otherwise, it is what it is, I guess, right? In terms of busyness, so like I said, the last 7 weeks I haven't recorded. I did plan on taking off January. I am back in February. So personally, I've had some treadmill challenges, let's say. We bought a new treadmill in late December. As soon as it was delivered, it didn't work. We had purchased it from, let's say, a sporting goods store that has a very phallic name. I'm not going to give them any kind of brand recognition here. You could probably figure out who it is. It was delivered, I would say, the first week of January. As soon as it was delivered, it didn't work. It took me about 6 weeks of emailing and calling the store to finally get them to take it back. And I finally got the refund this week. So that's like 7 weeks that it took me to finally get everything I needed to out of it, went somewhere else and bought a new one. And generally, I would say, not having a treadmill obviously is a slight inconvenience. But the fact that over the last 7 weeks, it's been brutally cold, it's been snowy, it's been a bit of a mess. Couldn't really run or walk outside as it's been in single digits here in New Jersey for quite a bit of time. And we're supposed to get more of a blizzard as I'm recording this, or later today / tomorrow. So by the time this podcast episode drops, it could be completely decimated by over a foot of snow outside. So with that said, I did want to mention the fact that that was kind of a challenge that I spent way too much of my my free time, let's say, going back and forth with the company. It ended where it needed to, but I would say I would never buy any expensive sporting equipment from that company again. So if you want to hear more about it, send me a message. It's probably more than enough, but I'm here for it if you want to chat on it. So I would say that leads me into my thoughts on customer service. So I recognize that oftentimes customer service is a bit handcuffed in terms of what they can do. Years ago when I was in college, I worked in various places. I worked in a Sam Goody music store. I worked in CVS, all sorts of places like that. I worked in restaurants. And I recognize from those situations that in customer service, you don't really have much of a say in terms of what can be done. So oftentimes customers will take advantage or yell or scream, which I think is very abusive because it's not like that person specifically did anything. Oftentimes it's the corporation or the company, and they really have limited power in terms of fixing it. So off of my lessons and things that I've gone through in life, when I was dealing with this store, I try to remain very patient and very, let's say, nice as possible with customer service, as I understand they're really just doing their job. I've seen and heard of people who get really upset and scream and yell. But for me, I recognize they're just trying to, do their job. Like if I'm at work and someone starts yelling at me, I wouldn't appreciate that. Excuse me. So I always try to make sure that I recognize, or at least I start off by saying, I understand this isn't your fault. Um, that contrast to, I think it was like late December, early January, I was in my local FedEx picking up a package. And as I walked in, there was this old guy who was yelling at the employee behind the customer, screaming that he wants his package and he doesn't care. The employee was like, I don't have it. It didn't come in yet, whatever else like that. And the guy just kept yelling and screaming, which I thought was super, super unnecessary. Just like not nice as a whole. The employee eventually goes, look, there's nothing I could do about it. Like, this isn't me. This is the company. Why are you yelling? And the guy, I guess, in honesty, he goes, because it makes me feel better, which I understand that some people like to let their emotions out like that. And some people like to have like an outlet like that. But to do that against a defenseless employee who can't respond, or, is just, not necessarily shouldn't be the target of that abuse. I'm not really a fan of that at all. I think it's unnecessary. And I think, as a society, we need to do better than that. I watched it go down back and forth. And honestly, I didn't step in or say anything. I mean, you never know if somebody has a weapon. I just really didn't want to get involved, but I stood there and watched, which in hindsight, maybe I should have said something. I don't know, but maybe I shouldn't have. I'm not really sure how those types of situations should go down or resolve themselves. Eventually, the guy just left the store, and then I just, heard the employees talking back and forth about how much of a jerk that guy was, which the guy was a jerk. So I guess my lesson here, my comment here is, try to be good to each other. I do the same. I try to, wherever possible, just try to be kind and give people the benefit of the doubt. And especially for an employee, you don't know what they've been through personally or professionally. So, no need to abuse them when, it's not necessary at all. Years ago when I worked in retail, I took my fair share of abuse. I never enjoyed it. It was never fun. And you're always, or oftentimes you're fearful of responding or anything because you don't want to get fired. And if you got bills to pay, money, that's all the money you have coming in. So it's really, really just an unfair thing to try to take advantage of employees like that. In other news, let's say, in April, I'm going to Las Vegas for WrestleMania. So this will be my 7th WrestleMania. I'm meeting up with some friends out there, going out with my buddy Daniel, meeting up with Marcus, Lucas, and a bunch of others. I did WrestleMania last about 2 years ago in Philadelphia, which was a lot of fun. This time it's going to be in Las Vegas again, as it was last year. I'm really excited about a couple of things that I'm doing that are not wrestling related. So last time I went to WrestleMania, I went with Daniel, with my buddy Steve, and we did, I think it was like 13 wrestling shows over the course of 5 days. So this time will probably be a few less shows, like probably 10 or 11 wrestling shows as a whole. But there were a couple of specific Las Vegas things that I really just got really excited about. And I was like, hey, I've got to do it since I'm out there. And Daniel's going to go with me as well. So the first thing is, as you guys probably know from my previous episodes, I'm a huge fan of Universal Studios Halloween Horror Nights. I've done multiple episodes about my trips down to Universal Orlando to go to the different haunted houses they do every September and October. Love haunted houses, love the experience. Las Vegas, about a year ago, I want to say, opened up something called Horror Unleashed, which is a year-round experiential thing where they have basically their own version of Horror Nights. It's like 4 houses in Las Vegas. So I've been looking for a reason to go and looking for a way to get out there. So since I'll be out there for WrestleMania, I'm very, very excited about that. So really happy, really excited. It'll be a lot of fun. Obviously, have all my wrestling out there, but doing the haunted houses will be cool too. The other thing that I'm really excited to be going to do is going to check out The Wizard of Oz at the Sphere. So as many of you may or may not know, the Sphere is a ridiculous like theater / something else that opened up in Las Vegas a few years ago. They originally opened, I think it was U2 opened, and like the visuals of this place are just ridiculous. The place looks super, super huge. The screens are like super panoramic, kind of like the old planetarium kind of a setup. And they could do a lot of just like ridiculous stuff. They do concerts there. They've done a UFC event there. When I first planned this trip, Wizard of Oz wasn't there yet. They had announced Fish was going to be playing when I was there, which I'm not really excited to go see Fish, so I wasn't really going to do it. But as soon as they announced that The Wizard of Oz was going to continue showing throughout the day and throughout that week, I was all about it. And it's not just you sit there and watch The Wizard of Oz on a screen. I believe it's almost like a 4D plus experience where I think the seats move. I think there's actors that come in and out while you're watching the movie. Now, obviously on a side note, many of you know about my motion sickness issues. So I am a little nervous that I may be the first person ever to vomit during the Wizard of Oz. So we'll see how that rolls out. I'm hoping for the best. It'll be fun. We'll see. If nothing else, I guess, it'll make for a great story to tell in a future episode if I do get sick. But it'll be fun. It'll be a good time. So looking forward to that. Outside of those two things, we have a lot of other wrestling events. So we have all the indie wrestling shows with GCW at the Collective. Going to check out WrestleCon. Got 2 nights for WrestleMania that Saturday and Sunday. And as of right now, hoping that they'll announce the official ticket on sale for the NXT show, which is the WWE's developmental brand. So as soon as those go on sale, I'll be going to check that out as well. So really excited. I last went to Las Vegas with a couple of buddies a few years ago. It was a lot of fun. This will be a very different experience, but it'll still be a lot of fun nonetheless. So really looking forward to it. Okay, so today is February 22nd, and on the last show of last year, or maybe the first show of this year, I had mentioned my New Year's resolution. So I had said that my New Year's resolution for 2025 was to average 10,000 steps per day for all of 2025. Now, I kind of messed up a little bit in that I was looking at the wrong app throughout the year. So long story short, Apple has 2 different apps that are within their phone and watch. So if I'm looking at my phone right now, the 2 apps they have are, you have the fitness app and the health app. So the fitness app is what I should be looking at because it keeps track of like all the data. It helps me to trend it, and I can kind of see. So this way, when I look year over year over year, I can understand how many steps or how many whatever I've done. The fitness app is really good for like in the moment and like for the day, but from a long-term trending perspective, it's not as good. Challenge was throughout the year, I was using the health app to keep track of how many steps I had in terms of that's just kind of what I was looking at. The health app pulls in data from your watch as well as if your phone is moving. So if I were to wake up in the morning and take my phone around the house without my watch on, the health app would give me steps, but the fitness app would not. I'm probably confused a lot of people at this point, but just work with me on this one. So long story short, on December 31st, I woke up and I looked in the health app and I was great. I was over 10,000 steps. I looked in the fitness app, which only keeps track of watch steps, but not phone steps. And I was way short. So long story long, on December 31st, I had to get 23,000 steps to hit my 10,000 step goal, which it made for a long day, but I did end up hitting it. So I ended up 2025 with my highest step year of all time, where I think previously my highest average per day for a year was like 7,500 steps. And for 2025, I finished over 10,000. I think it was like 10,006, I think I did, which was a lot of work, especially on the last day, but it was great. So learning for me is use the fitness app and not the health app to keep track of my steps. So with that said, for 2026, I had mentioned that my goal was to not only get 10,000 steps per day average, but every month to get that. So it's not like I can make up for a short month where, like, let's say in January, I do 11,000 steps and February, I do 9,000 steps. My goal is every month to do 10,000 steps or more. So as we sit here on February 22nd, I'm happy to say that I am well above 10,000 steps per day. And both January and February, I've averaged more than 10,000 steps per day. So I'm going to keep it going. I'll keep you guys updated. If you care, hit me a note. If you don't care, also hit me a note. Always curious to see what people's goals are. Always curious to share my goals because if nothing else, it helps to keep me honest in terms of benchmarking myself and just keeping myself to where I need to be. So more to come on that. Wanted to call out the fact that, as you probably know as well, I'm a huge movie guy. Love watching movies, love going to the movies. As we sit here, again, on February 22nd, so late February, I have already seen 30 movies to date, which is pretty solid. That's an average of, like 1 movie every 2 days, give or take. Of those 30 movies, 21 of them were repeats, and 9 of them are new this year, with 3 in theaters. What I'll say is the most intriguing to me was I saw a couple of movies so I saw one movie that I had never seen before. I saw an Instagram reel about it, and I was like, that looks really good. And it came out like 15 years ago. Margin Call. For me, as many people know, I love, let's say, corporate America, weird types of flicks. Margin Call takes place in 2007, 2008, right before the financial crisis, or actually it was the beginning of it, I guess, where a guy is laid off at the very beginning of the movie. He tries to explain to them, you don't want to fire me because I am the head of like risk management, because it was one of those like investment firms. They say we don't care. And as he's leaving, he hands off his data to one of the analysts, who then recognizes that this guy was just kind of like right on the tip of finding, it was all going to collapse. and then watching the movie play out like that. So if you've ever seen Margin Call, why didn't you tell me until now that it exists? If you haven't seen it, I would say check it out. Really, really fun movie. Interesting. Definitely resonated with me. I saw the movie Strangers Chapter 3 in theaters, which I thought was fantastic. Horror movie. Not sure if anybody has seen the older movies. So over the last 2 years, it was a bit of a reboot of the Strangers series. They've relaunched or re-released the older Strangers multiple times, which generally everyone's basically the same. There's a couple or a group of people who live or are staying vacationing in a cabin. A bunch of masked folks come over, abuse them, and kind of goes from there. This was a very different take on it, which I thought was great. So Chapter 1, the first movie that came out 2 years ago, was basically the same as the old ones. So I wasn't that really intrigued by it. Now, Chapter 2 and Chapter 3. So Chapter 2 came out last year. Chapter 3 came out last month. I thought were fantastic in the fact that these were the first Strangers movies that didn't just go into, the over-the-top abusive horror. They actually went to the backstory of the bad guys. So you understand, you don't necessarily agree with or like, but you understand how they became, how they are, why they are, how they are, how they do things and things like that. So for me, as a horror movie film buff, I really appreciated the different take on it. I really enjoyed all the different angles on it and where it went. So that is, it was good. I enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun. Definitely check out the Strangers Chapter 1, 2, and 3. I did also see Primate in theaters, which I was really excited about. Wasn't that good though. I thought it was a great premise. I thought it went over the top in terms of the gore and the violence. But in terms of the actual storyline, it could have been a lot deeper. They could have done a lot more with it. So I would say when Primate hits, let's say Paramount Plus, you can probably avoid it. I don't know. Other movie that I saw, Send Help. So similar to Margin Call, I love the fact that it was like a corporate America kind of a thriller of sorts. Send Help was fun with Rachel McAdams, where basically she works for a real jerk of a boss. They're in a plane crash, and then all of a sudden she has to take care of him, and kind of the power struggle or change takes place there. So really enjoyed Send Help. I think it was very well done. It's from Sam Raimi, who did the old Evil Dead movies. If you're into horror or just into kind of like thrillers and suspense, definitely worthwhile in checking that out. A few more things I want to talk about, and then we'll probably call it a week. And we'll, again, stay tuned on my socials to get a sense of when my next episode is going to be. Working on a couple of really cool things, so we'll see what happens. Did want to call out the fact that Josh Breezy, a friend of the show, previous guest of the show from January of 2025, he launched a micro brawler. So for those of you that don't know what a micro brawler is, it is an action figure that you can have done or created of yourself. A lot of wrestlers do it. So if you're watching the video version of this show, this is the micro brawler here. So I was able to get a few of them signed. I'm especially excited about it because on the back, Everybody Has a Story with Jeff Seltzer did sponsor the micro brawler. So on the back, it has, probably can't see it because of the reflection here, but the show's logo as well as a QR code to go to jeffseltzer.com. As you know, for all things Jeff Seltzer, you can always check out jeffseltzer.com. Josh has a number of these left over that he's looking to sell. He's been selling them at the local independent wrestling shows he's going to, that he's wrestling at. He's been selling them online. I'm very excited about it. I mean, I was able to help out a small independent wrestler, and at the same time get my logo on the back of an action figure. So if you do want to check it out, if you do want to buy one, go to joshbreezy.com. That's Josh, BREEZZY.com, joshbreezy.com. They're really cool. He could use a little help these days as well, too. So definitely go check it out. He has other merch on the website, too. You can buy the Micro Brawler action figure signed, unsigned. He has trading cards you can buy signed. Seems like an overall good guy, so definitely check it out. Go buy something from him and tell him I said hi. That's pretty much it for this week of the episode, I think. Wanted to call out the fact that some ideas that I have for future episodes, I do have a couple of guests that I'm working through. I did punt on them to probably March or April as I was a bit busy over the last few weeks. One thing I'm probably going to do also is we're approaching the 2-year anniversary of my first appearance on a podcast. So back in April of 2024, I was a guest on the Major World Order podcast. So I've already reached out to the host of that show, which unfortunately that show doesn't exist anymore, but I do still have the content. I'll probably do a watch along at some point. So I'll probably play that episode and kind of talk over my thoughts, my experience, everything I went through at that time. So more to come with that. Additionally, as always, I'll be doing my post WrestleMania episodes. So as I'm going to Las Vegas with Daniel, meeting up with some buddies, sometime after WrestleMania, so probably late April or sometime in May, we're recording an episode about what our experiences were like. I'll talk all about the Wizard of Oz. Hopefully I didn't throw up at that point. Talk all about the Haunted Unleashed, Universal's haunted houses out there, see what that's like. So definitely a lot more stories to share. So the podcast may stay the same, may change a little bit. I don't believe I'll be able to do it weekly going forward, but we'll see how it goes. If you do want to be a guest or have any comments or anything else you want to talk about, definitely shoot me a note. You can either email the show at everybodyhasastorypod@gmail.com, or on Instagram, you can always send a DM to everybodyhasastorypod. With that said, hope everybody has an amazing week. Hopefully by the time this podcast drops, we do not get the overfoot, maybe 2 feet of snow that we are expecting, and hopefully everything goes for the best. Take care and have a great, great day.
Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer. 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 Everybody has a story with Jeff Seltzer.